What comes from the heart reaches the heart. Good morning, Open Heart, and welcome to our Heart Stream Live for this Sunday, June the 27th, 2021. As always, I'm so glad that you are joining us, that you are a part of this celebration. For all that you do to make it possible, I thank you for your gifts, your energy, your encouragement. I know that I mentioned a couple of Sundays ago that we would be having a virtual community meeting to discuss how we move forward as a spiritual community. I know there are many other places that are now opening up and meeting in person, and others who are doing on parking lots and other things like that. But I'd like for us to have a conversation to decide what's best for us for Open Heart and how it is that you see us moving forward. So on Thursday, July the 8th, we will have a virtual community meeting. You'll have more information about that. That will be an opportunity to give your input, and it will be a way for us to decide as how we proceed and move forward. I'd like to take a moment and turn within, giving thanks for this day and for this opportunity to gather in this space in this way, knowing that Spirit is all there is, that God is all there is, and God is flowing in, through, and as each and every one of us right here and right now. I'm grateful and thankful for all that happens and all that makes it possible for this Heartstream Live, for that which flows forth in this moment, all of the contributions that are made by the many people that help to make this celebration possible. I know that in this moment that the energy that emanates here and now touches and reaches those people that are on our prayer list. It touches and reaches people that are seeing this, whether it is live or whether it is the recording or whether just coming into contact with someone who has experienced and encountered this, that this energy is limitless. It is unlimited, and it continues to flow forth with grace and ease. And I hold the space for our world, for our country, for our city, our state, for all of the things that are happening, all of the decisions that are being made, and everything else, continuing to know that God is all there is, and all fades into God, and God is expressing here and now. I know that as this time happens together in this Heartstream Live, that whatever questions there might be, whatever needs there might be, whatever contemplation or concern that there might be, that the energy that flows from this moment is enough to uplift, to inspire, to motivate, to heal, to encourage, to do so many things to provide for each and every one of us. I trust now that this happens and unfolds, and give thanks for it all and release my word into the creative medium. I know that it is done. I know that it is so. And I simply give thanks for it and say, and so it is. I greet you. I bless you. I see God in you. Our purpose statement. Our purpose is to create a spiritual community which recognizes that there is one presence and one power in the universe, God. Daily, we actively practice this spiritual truth. We open our heart space to each person to acknowledge one another as expressions of God. It is in each other that we see God.
living by faith. By faith, I align with truth, so that the invisible manifests in visible form. What I'm hoping for becomes what I'm giving thanks for.
Good morning, Open Heart. Today I will be doing affirmative reading, and I'm reading from the Science of Mind issue, the May issue, an article written by Ernest Holmes in 1950. The article is Spiritual Ornament, and I will be reading an insert from that article. And it goes, on the side of right. If the whole nation works together and prays together, a great moral and spiritual power and actual soul force will penetrate the whole world, helping to bring confidence and calm judgment and right action until the crisis shall have passed. Freedom need never be ashamed of itself, nor liberty bow to despair. God is always on the side of right, and faith will always conquer fear. We cannot doubt but that the great mass of humanity in every nation must desire peace. We wish to bring peace and justice to all, and in our prayers. We should know that this idea is being received and accepted. I believe there is a silent communion of mind with mind, and that every one of us has ample enough evidence of this fact in his everyday life. Thoughts and ideas are contagious. Why shouldn't there be a true propaganda, a spiritual propaganda? And if your thoughts and mind reach each other, as they most certainly do, why shouldn't our united thoughts penetrate every location on earth with a feeling of goodwill to the humble citizens of every country? I am sure they can. There seem to be two attitudes that we can assume. One is calmness, faith, and conviction. The other, despair. And despair is unthinkable. Let's then, each in his own way, dedicate his time, his service, his hope, and his spiritual conviction to the common cause of liberty and justice for all. And let us work without tiring and pray without ceasing. We know something alive with meaning is taking place. Something vibrant with hope is happening. Something latent with the possibility of the future is being conceived. The destiny of the world is at stake, and this includes your world and my world. The world cannot exist half enslaved and half free. The decision is being made now. These are indeed times that try our souls, but it is written that they who dwell in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And so it is.
Good morning. These are your announcements. Your ideas and input are needed. On Thursday, July the 8th at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom, we will have our Open Heart community meeting where we will discuss our plans for moving forward, our plans for coming back together, and how it is that we will proceed. I know other communities are doing their things, but we're going to do what's best for Open Heart, and it's an opportunity for you to share your thoughts and your ideas. Please join us. From the very beginning of Open Heart, I was clear that we would be intentional about being an inclusive community. June is Pride Month. We unhesitatingly and wholeheartedly support our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, and queer friends, their rights, their marriages, their pursuit of happiness, and their breath. This is also true July through May.
Today is a day like no other day. Just think and you'll know that it's true. Days like today should be holidays. So I'm singing this message to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Just have a happy day.
At Open Heart, we believe in the power of affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment, a treatment for those who are on our prayer list and beyond. A power is in you right now in this instant, waiting to be released into the creative action, which is your natural birthright, whether it's your own health, your relations with other people, or your own work. All the love there is in the world is in you and around you at this instant. It is waiting only for the release that comes through your active awareness of it. All the health there is in the world is yours at this instant. It is waiting only for the revelation of the perfect person covered by the ailing person. All the riches you need in the world are yours at this instant. They await only your acceptance. The creative drive you have always had is now in action. It is calling and waiting for you to let it out into the world, to let it shine before a world that will receive you with love, warmth, and joy, since you and the creation are one, inseparable and eternal. And so it is. Thank you, Mary, for today's affirmative reading, and you too can provide one by recording your video and sending it to jgilmore@openheartspiritual.org. Our daily affirmative prayer call takes place each and every morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. Dial in as one of our prayer team members shares an inspirational reading and then prays for you, all in about 7 minutes. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am richly blessed, creating a greater and greater flow. Thank you for all of the support that you provide for us through your conscious giving. You can do so through a number of methods. We have our Cash App. You can use our cash tag OHSC901 to donate. You can also go online to our website at ohsc901.com and make your contribution there. Or you can do the text to give by texting the word give to 615-422-4292. Thank you for all of the ways in which you support Open Heart. Thank you for your financial gifts.
Let the sound bring your attention to this moment, to this place. Let it focus and center in this moment. And so it is.
Living by faith. Living by faith. Many of you are familiar with the story where the master teacher Jesus comes to where his disciples have been trying to cure a boy who in that day was said to be possessed by a demon and wasn't able to. And so he had to do it himself. And then as he entered into a discussion with his disciples as to why they couldn't do it, he becomes a little bit disturbed by all of that and says to them, if you would have the faith as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, be moved, and it will move and move into the sea. We've heard it, faith as a mustard seed. Many of you probably have even had an encounter, maybe in a church or someplace else, where a person has presented you with the mustard seed, and you see how tiny it truly is, and you think to yourself that I have faith that's much larger than a mustard seed. It's much greater. But there's still problems. There's still obstacles. The mountain's still here. There are things that are still in front of me, things that are still a part of my life that seem insurmountable, that seem almost impossible. You might say, I believe, I trust, I pray, I try to do those things, but there's still things that are here that are difficult for me, things that present challenges, appearances that show up that are often difficult for me, that are there, those things that have mountain-like qualities. And if I just had enough faith, you might find yourself saying, if I did, why, and I do, I feel like I do, but why do I have money problems? Why has a loved one has a substance abuse problem, or maybe it's my own substance abuse problem? Why do I have a relative who's in jail, someone who's sick, my relationship's in trouble, my spouse isn't acting right, my loved one who hasn't acknowledged their relationship with me or with God or anyone else, and all of the ruptures that are there, not to mention the societal things that we see happening around us, all of the things that over the past year or more that we've encountered with the pandemic and social injustice and everything else, all of that. You might be saying that my faith is larger than a mustard seed, but here it is. There is happening for me. If I just had enough faith, these things would be behind me. I wouldn't be meeting these things and finding these things in my life. Well, this morning, I'd like to take a slightly different approach or a slightly different interpretation to this text and to the idea of living by faith. In the Greek, this particular passage is rendered where Jesus talks about the faith of a mustard seed. He says the faith as a mustard seed. Faith as a mustard seed, rather than the way that it's rendered by so many. And you might that it's the size of a mustard seed, but he actually, in the Greek, it actually has him saying faith as a mustard seed. And you might think, well, what's the difference? You know, it's really a question of semantics and translation. But I'd like to offer to you this morning that it's more than that. It's more than just about the size of a mustard seed. That Jesus was talking to an audience that many of them would catch what he was saying in this moment. Because rather than the emphasis being on the size of the mustard seed, and yes, it's a very tiny seed and it grows into a big bush in proportion to its size, but it's more than about size. It's more than that. And I think that that's really what the master teacher was getting at as he was saying this to his audience, because he knew that they knew something more about the seed than just its size. He knew that they understood that it was about the seed's relationship to the universe, to the forces of nature, to its relationship with God. Many of them were farmers and planters, and they had a familiar relationship with what it means to take a seed and to plant it into the ground. And when the seed is planted into the earth, it comes into contact with the soil, with the rain and the air and the sunshine and the light of the moon and the stars. And it will cause it to grow larger and larger, to expand beyond itself, because there was an inexhaustible sources of energy and supply that are overflowing and flowing its way towards that tiny little seed. And because that's what was happening to it, that the seed would sprout and would begin to grow higher and higher, it would suddenly burst through the soil because it has life in it, because it has the elements already in it that can respond to the powers and the presence of the universe. If you take a stone and you throw it up in the air, it will fall back to the ground because it's dead and it's not living. But the seed is subject to the mysterious power of the universe. It already has the power of life in it, which when it's exposed to those other powers that work upon it, those powers that work in response to the trust of the seed, if you will, because when the seed gives itself over to the earth, when it gets down in there and it just does what a seed does, and it brings itself forward in that way, that it is living. And because it is living, at that moment, the grain sprouts, the plant, the genesis for that bush sprouts, and it gives it victory over death. The seed might seem, when it's first placed in the ground, to be dead, that there's nothing there, but there's something inside of it that responds, something inside of it that causes it to grow. And the seed grows in the face of great opposing forces. The winds might come, but it keeps on growing. Storms might come, but it keeps on growing. Drought might come, but it keeps on growing. Other things can happen around it, but it keeps on growing. It continues to grow and to grow and to grow until it comes out of the earth and it becomes a bush. And you might say in this moment, well, but in the end, the bush dies. But it's not until it has given life to others, until it has become the process by which other seeds fall into the earth and other seeds begin to grow. And in the process, that as it comes forth and it is there, it might become a nesting place for birds, a place of shade for someone who's weary in the heat of the day. It might be a shelter for someone, all from that little seed. Faith as a mustard seed. And so it is with our faith. When we allow the faith that we have, and we've been talking about a faith, understanding that we know that in this whole process, the whole creative process, that when we apply our faith, when we have ourselves with what Mitch Horowitz talks about, a chief definite aim, when we make a decision on what it is that we wish to have in our lives, a decision about how the way we would like to have, when we do that and we become positive about that, when we become determined about that, when we become intentional about that, and we set our intention and we put it forth and we continue to stay with it, not just think about on an irregular basis about that, but each and every day seeing ourselves in a space and place where we are affirming life, where we are affirming the things for us that we wish to happen, where we are setting the intention for our day when we wake up in the morning. And as we wake up in the morning and we continue throughout the day, we return to it again and again. And when things that happen that are not in alignment with our understanding, with our intention, we return back to it. When people say things that are contrary to the way that we see things, we may say to ourselves, that's not my reality. That's not my reality. That's not my reality. We continue to understand that when we are focused, as the master teacher again reminded us, that when our eye is single, the body shall be full of light. When we do these things, when we trust these things, when we have that relationship with God and we continue to do the work, Did I say work? Yes, it requires work. It's not something that's casual. It's not something that just happens every now and then when we gather for this live stream or when someone reminds me or you, but it's about each and every day having a life of purpose, having intention for ourselves. And when we do this inner work, and I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but when we do this inner work, and it's not just about blind faith, but the inner work, it's the work that we do, it's the meditation that we do, it's the affirmative prayer that we do, it's the affirmations that we do, it's the creative visualization that we do, it's all of the things that we do that are as that seed that gives itself over to the presence and the power of the universe, all of the things that are available to us, that just as we do that, then things begin to happen for us. We begin living a life of faith. And come what may, because we hold steadfast to that faith, because we believe in that faith, because we trust with faith, things happen. They don't just happen, but they happen just as we see them, just as we intend them, just as we visualize those things. I was thinking the other day as I was standing in my kitchen, and you hear me talk about all the time the field of infinite possibilities. And as I was standing there in the kitchen, I thought about how my kitchen is very much like that field of infinite possibilities. Because here in the kitchen, I have a pantry that has all kinds of food items and other things that are there stocked in there. There's a refrigerator with more food. There are utensils and cooking implements that are there. There's my stove and my microwave and my air fryer and toaster oven that is there. There's my mixer. There is a fryer. There are all kinds of things that are there in that kitchen that are available to me. And in that context, whatever it is I decide that I want to eat, whatever I decide, whether it's breakfast or lunch or dinner, whether it's breakfast for dinner or whatever else it might be, there's a possibility in that kitchen for me to do what it is that I need to do to have a meal. But I have to do the work because otherwise it's just all there. But once I make the decision that I'm going to cook something and I begin taking things out the pantry, I begin pulling things out the freezer or the refrigerator, I start turning on the stove and setting the temperature for the oven and do all of the things that I need to do while I am in there. And as I give those things over to the kitchen provides the means for me to produce a meal. And the meal comes out from that when I put in the work, when I recognize that there's so many things that are there that are available that make it possible to have a meal. And the other part of that, because I talk about all the time how spirit is impersonal, that it doesn't matter that any of us, whatever our past might be, whatever we might have done, whatever our situation or circumstances might be, the kitchen responds because it could be me in the kitchen cooking. It could be my wife in the kitchen cooking. Or I think about how on my birthday, my wife decided to surprise me and had one of our friends who owns a restaurant, one of our favorite restaurants, and I came in to the house and I smelled food cooking and she met me at the door and I heard noise back in the kitchen. I walked in the kitchen and there he was preparing a wonderful birthday meal for me. The kitchen didn't say, but who are you? You're not John. You're not Emma. It simply responded. He took the same stove and the same oven and the same implements and the ingredients and made a wonderful meal. That's how the universe responds to us. When we set the intention and make the decision that this is what the meal is going to be, that this ultimately in our faith, the kinds of life that we're going to have, the kinds of ways in which we're going to live, the relationships that we will have, the relationship with finances and abundance and prosperity that we will have, the relationship with health that we will have, the relationships with other people that we will have. That once we respond, we just make the decision and decide that the universe responds because we are living lives of faith. This is our opportunity. This is our time to live by faith, to understand that the things that we have been hoping for, the things that we have been setting our intention for, the things that we have been directing our energy toward, the things that we continue to see and continue to behold and create the mental equivalent. Once we understand that, once we put these things into practice, once we get into that moment where we understand that we are people of faith and we stand in faith and we stand in our truth. And once we understand these things, then those things that we have been as our affirmation says, those things that we have been hoping for, we are suddenly giving thanks for. We suddenly see them unfolding. We see them happening. We see them becoming present in our lives. We see them unfolding for us. We see those things that once were only ideas in our minds, and now suddenly we are living in that way. We are moving in that way. We are speaking in that way. We are experiencing things in that way. We understand what it means then to live by faith. This is your opportunity. This is your time. This has been your teaching to understand that you too deserve the life that you choose to live, that you deserve the life. You are worthy now. You are worthy here to live by faith. And so it is.
There was a time in my life, thought I had to do it all for myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, gotta let it go. Gotta let it all go. Are you listening? You got to let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is Yes, I'm only here for God. I know.
There's far too many of you dying. You know, got to find a way to bring some love in here today. Brother, we don't need